On the morning of October 14th, 2024, I still believed that the hardest chapter of my life had already been written. I was wrong. Grief, I thought, was the cruelest thief. It had stolen my husband Robert after 38 years of marriage, taken his laugh from the hallways, his warm weight from our bed, his steady hand from mine as we walked the rose-lined path in our Pasadena backyard. But grief, it turns out, was only the opening act. The real theft came later, wrapped in legal paper and delivered by a mail carrier who had no idea he was carrying the detonation cord for the rest of my world. I was 62 then, still adjusting to the silence of a house that had once rung, with children's footsteps, teenage arguments, holiday music, and Robert's off-key humming while he fixed leaky faucets or grilled steaks on the patio. The house on Maple Lane was a 1920s California craftsman we'd bought in 1987 for $215,000, a fortune to us at the time. We'd poured every extra dollar into it, refinishing the oak floors by hand, restoring the built-in china cabinets, planting the rose garden that became my sanctuary. Robert, an aerospace engineer, had steady work at a defense contractor in El Segundo. I taught art part-time at the community college and ran the household so he could chase promotions. We weren't wealthy, but we were secure, or so I believed. Robert's cancer diagnosis came in early 2022, pancreatic stage 4. The doctors gave him months. He fought for 2.5 years. I became nurse, cook, pharmacist, cheerleader, and widow in training. I learned to administer morphine pumps, to change dressings, to hold him when the pain made him weep like a child. Our children, David, 36, a software project manager in Seattle, and Sarah, 34, a pediatric nurse in San Francisco with 2 little ones, came when they could, but the day-to-day fell to me. I didn't mind. Love, I told myself, is measured in presence. He died on a Tuesday in April 2024. At home in the hospital bed, we'd set up in the sunroom so he could watch the roses bloom one last time. I held his hand as he slipped away, whispering that it was okay to go. The funeral was small, but beautiful old colleagues, neighbors, our kids, a few cousins. Evelyn, Robert's younger sister, flew in from Phoenix with her latest boyfriend, a man 20 years her junior named Troy, who wore too much cologne. She cried dramatically at the graveside, clutching my arm as if we'd always been close. We hadn't. Evelyn had spent her life lurching from crisis to crisis, bad marriages, worse investments, perpetual money shortages. Robert, soft-hearted to a fault, had bailed her out repeatedly. $10,000 here for a down payment, $20,000 there for credit card debt. I'd grumbled privately, but never forbidden it. Family, he'd say. She's all I have left of Mom and Dad. After the funeral, Evelyn lingered. Let me help you sort his things, Margie, she cooed, using the nickname I'd always disliked. I was too exhausted to argue. She boxed up his clothes for donation, pocketed his favorite watch for safekeeping, and left with promises to stay in touch. 6 months later, that certified letter arrived. I read it 3 times before the words sank in. The house, our house, paid off in 2018 after 31 years of mortgage payments, was no longer mine. Robert had executed a quitclaim deed 8 months before his death, transferring sole title to Evelyn Marie Hargrove as an irrevocable gift. The notary's stamp was crisp, the witnesses' signatures neat. A cover letter from the attorney, Daniel Langford of Langford, and associates in Glendale expressed condolences and informed me I had 30 days to vacate the premises called Langford immediately. His assistant put me through. "Mrs. Ellis, the transfer is ironclad," he said, voice smooth as riverstone. "Your husband was of sound mind. We have medical affidavits from his oncologist stating he was lucid during the signing." "But he was on heavy pain medication," I protested, my throat raw. "He had good days and bad. How can you be sure?" "The notary is experienced with end-of-life documents. There are video recordings of the signing if you wish to challenge it, but I advise against it. Legal fees would exceed the value you might recover." Video recordings. I hadn't known. I hung up and drove to the county recorder's office myself. The deed was public record, signed February 12th, 2024 one of Robert's better weeks, when he'd been alert enough to sit in the sunroom and watch birds at the feeder. Evelyn had been visiting that week. I remembered because she'd brought homemade lasagna that tasted store-bought. That night, I went through Robert's locked desk. I found the key where he'd always kept it, taped beneath the blotter. Inside were folders I'd never seen, bank statements showing transfers totaling $87,000 to Evelyn's account over the previous 2 years, credit card statements for purchases I hadn't made jewelry, a cruise to Alaska, a down payment on a condo in Scottsdale, and a life insurance policy, $500,000 whole life, taken out in 1998, premiums paid quietly from a separate account linked to his workplace bonus structure. Beneficiary? Margaret Ann Ellis only. No contingent. A yellow post-it in his handwriting. For Margaret, in case I do something stupid, I'm sorry. Sat on the study floor and cried until my ribs ached, not just for the house, but for the secrets, the erosion of trust I hadn't seen coming. David and Sarah were livid when I told them. Sarah flew down the next weekend with the grandkids as cover. We went through more files together. We found emails. Robert's work laptop password, still his old one. Rosebud, 1946. Our first dog and wedding year. Messages from Evelyn. "Bobby, you know Margie doesn't appreciate this house like I would. She's talking about downsizing anyway. Think of it as family legacy." And Robert's replies, increasingly confused as the opioids took hold. "I don't know. Ev, it feels wrong." Then later, "If it'll help you, okay, just don't tell her yet." Sarah hugged me as we read. Dad was manipulated, Mom. She preyed on him when he was weakest. I nodded, but the pain was layered. Manipulation, yes. But Robert had chosen to hide it from me, chosen her narrative over our partnership. Evelyn called 2 days later, voice dripping sympathy. "Margaret, I know this is a shock, but Bobby wanted me to have security. You have your pension, Social Security, you could rent something cute. I'll even help you find a place." I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles went white. "How generous," I managed. 30 days. I had 30 days to pack a lifetime. But I had something Evelyn didn't know about, that insurance policy, and a fire in my belly that hadn't burned this hot since I was a young woman fighting for my own dreams. The insurance payout cleared in early November 2024, $498,732 after taxes, deposited into an account Robert had opened in my name only at a credit union I'd never used. I sat in the bank manager's office, staring at the balance on the screen, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and fury. Gratitude that Robert had protected something, fury that he'd felt the need to hide it. I didn't touch the money for extravagance. First priority? Legal counsel. Through an online support group for widows facing elder financial abuse, I found Carla Ramirez, a litigation attorney in Los Angeles specializing in probate and undue influence cases. We met at a quiet cafe in South Pasadena. Carla was 43, second-generation Mexican-American, sharp as a stiletto. She reviewed the documents over lattes. "This is textbook undue influence," she said. "Terminal patient, heavy narcotics, isolated visits from a financially dependent sibling. We can file to set aside the deed, but it'll be war, discovery, depositions, expert testimony on capacity. Could take 2 years and cost $100,000 easy?" I nodded. "And if we lose?" "You're out the fees, and the deed stands." Elle thought of the house my roses, the built-in bookshelves Robert and I had installed together, the kitchen where I'd taught Sarah to bake pies. I wasn't ready to lose it yet, but Elle also wasn't ready to bleed myself dry in court while Evelyn lived in my home. "There's another way," Carla said, reading my silence. "Private investigation. Gather evidence quietly. If we find coercion or fraud, we strengthen the case or use it to negotiate. That's when Mark Harlan re-entered my life." Mark and Elle had dated briefly in 1978, art student and rookie cop, both 22, full of passion and idealism. He'd wanted marriage. I'd wanted freedom to paint. We parted friends. He married a nurse, had 2 daughters, rose to detective in LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division. His wife died of breast cancer in 2019. I'd sent a condolence card. He'd replied with a kind note. We hadn't spoken since. He called out of the blue one rainy November afternoon. "Heard through the grapevine about Robert," he said. "And about the house." "I'm sorry, Maggie." No one had called me Maggie since college. The sound of it unlocked something soft inside me. We met for lunch at a diner in Altadena. He looked good silver hair, laugh lines deeper, but the same steady blue eyes. Over burgers, I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, the way good detectives do. When Elle finished, he said, "Let me help. My firm does probate investigations. I'll take it pro bono. Old time's sake, and because what she did stinks." Elle accepted. Mark's investigation was methodical. He started with the notary, a woman named Karen Whitmore, who'd notarized dozens of Evelyn's documents over the years. Conflict of interest flagged. Then hospital visitor logs Evelyn had signed in 14 times in the 3 months before the deed signing, often when I was at support group meetings or grocery shopping. Nurses remembered her bringing important papers for Robert to sign. Mark installed discrete cameras in the house, still legally mine until eviction, and captured Evelyn photographing my financial files, measuring rooms, even taking selfies in my bedroom with captions like, "Future Master Suite Goals." The affair evidence hurt most. Not physical. Robert was too ill, but emotional. Texts recovered from cloud backups, Evelyn calling him my rock, him confiding fears about dying, her promising to make sure everything is taken care of. Classic grooming. By January 2025, I'd moved into a small apartment in Altadena, 2 bedrooms, balcony with a view of the San Gabriel Mountains. I boxed memories carefully, photo albums, Robert's old pipes, the kids' childhood art. The rest went to storage. Evelyn took possession February 1st. She posted on Facebook, grateful for family legacy, new chapter in this charming home. Photos of her tacky renovations began, gold fixtures, mirrored walls. I watched from afar, painting furiously in my new spare room studio, canvases of roses and stormlight, houses with locked doors, women standing alone but unbroken. A local gallery took 3 pieces on consignment. 1 sold. Mark and I saw more of each other case updates turning into dinners, walks in Descanso Gardens, quiet evenings with wine and old jazz records. One night in March, he kissed me under the wisteria arbor. It felt like coming home to a place I'd forgotten existed. The court case loomed, but I had a different plan forming. Part 3. The counterstrike expanded. Spring. 2025 brought growth literal and figurative. My investments, guided by a conservative financial planner, climbed with the market. The insurance money grew to $680,000. My paintings sold steadily. I rented a small studio space in Old Town Pasadena and began teaching weekend workshops again. Students called me inspiring, I laughed. 63 and just beginning to live. Evelyn listed the house in May, $1.2 million asking price, banking on Pasadena's hot market. She'd done partial renovations, new kitchen appliances, fresh paint, stage furniture. But the pool she wanted permitting issues, costs mounted. She needed a quick sale. I watched the listing daily through a trust Mark helped establish, Rose Legacy Trust. Named for our old dog, I submitted a cash offer, $1.25 million, 21-day close as is. No contingencies. Evelyn accepted within hours, greedy for the overask. Closing was June 15th, 2025. I signed as trustee. She never knew. Then the transformation began. Elle hired contractors who specialized in craftsman restoration. Stripped Evelyn's gaudy gold fixtures, refinished original hardwood, rebuilt the china cabinets she'd painted over. The kitchen became my dream island with quartzite, veined like Carrara, farmhouse sink, professional range. I added a sunlit art studio off the back, French doors opening to the rose garden, I replanted with 20 new varieties. Peace, Mr. Lincoln, double delight. Furniture came slowly, pieces with meaning. A new dining table from a local woodworker. Upholstered chairs in soft blues and creams. My paintings on the walls. Robert's old desk restored to pride of place in the study, but now holding my laptop and sketchbooks. Mark helped with the heavy lifting, literally and emotionally. We took a trip to Big Sur in July, walking coastal trails, talking about everything we'd missed in our separate lives. He proposed in August on the front porch at sunset, ring simple a sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds. For the depth of you, he said. We married quietly in October. Courthouse ceremony with David, Sarah, and the grandkids. Reception in the backyard under string lights. I wore ivory lace. Mark wore the smile I'd remembered from 1978. Evelyn's texts grew desperate by fall. Her Scottsdale condo investment tanked. Troy left with her savings. Family helps family, Margaret. Could you spare a loan? I replied once. I'm sure you'll manage. Part 4. The Reveal and Redemption. Expanded. Summer 2027. The house was fully mind, soul, and soil. Roses bloomed in riotous color. The studio overflowed with canvases. My first solo gallery show sold out. Mark and I traveled. Italy in spring, New England in fall. Life at 65 felt expansive. I decided it was time. Elle invited the family for a housewarming barbecue, 2 years late, but better late than never. David and Sarah knew the truth. They'd kept my secret. I invited Evelyn too, with a neutral note. Time to clear the air. Bring Troy if you like. She arrived alone, thinner, hair dyed too dark for her age. The house hit her like a physical blow. She stood in the foyer, mouth open, as sunlight poured through stained glass transoms I'd had restored. The kitchen island groaned with food tri-tip from the new grill potato salad, my famous peach cobbler. Grandkids ran through the garden shrieking with joy. Mark tended the bar, easy in his role as host. Evelyn recovered enough to snipe. Nice rental. Airbnbs pay well these days? Smiled, handed her a glass of wine, led everyone to the dining room. On the table, a folder. Inside trust dissolution documents, sale records, bank statements showing her spending of the $1.25 million, mostly gone, and a printed screenshot of her old Facebook post claiming inheritance. I bought it back, I said quietly. Cash the day you sold. Silence, then chaos. Evelyn actually screamed, flipping through pages. This is fraud, theft, pursue. Carla Ramirez, invited as a friend, stepped forward with business cards. Happy to discuss in court. We have texts, hospital logs, capacity experts ready to testify. David and Sarah stood beside me. We know everything, Aunt Evelyn, Sarah said coldly. Dad was manipulated. You took advantage. One cousin Robert's nephew, Michael, who'd always been decent, paled as truths unfolded. He apologized later, privately, sent flowers weekly for months. Evelyn stormed out, vowing revenge. None came. She filed bankruptcy in 2028. Years passed. The house thrived with new memories. Grandkids' birthday parties, Thanksgiving tables extended to seat 20, art workshops in the studio. Mark and I grew old together gracefully. Evelyn sent a letter in 2030 from a modest apartment in Nevada, genuine remorse, asking if we could meet. I replied, forgiveness is a door I've opened for myself. Whether you walk through is up to you. We met once, neutral ground. No reconciliation, just closure. I still paint roses. They remind me, beauty can be pruned, wounded, nearly destroyed. But with time, light, and fierce tending, it blooms stronger than before. And the house on Maple Lane? It's home. Truly, finally, irrevocably mine.